Toussaint Louverture was the true leader of the Haitian Revolution. He was born a slave, but was educated about French and African history, as well as French Enlightenment philosophies. He eventually bought his freedom and became a successful free black man. His situation was unique because he had been a slave, a free person of color, and had been educated about French politics.
He had multiple interests in the Haitian Revolution, including French Enlightenment democratic ideals, the issue of citizenship for free people of color, and independence for slaves in Saint-Domingue. He understood the different interests of the people of Saint-Domingue and always worked with their needs in mind.
When the Haitian independence movement began, it only included free people of color and whites. Slaves were completely left out. However, while the rest of Saint-Domingue was preoccupied with interclass conflicts and the French Revolution, the slaves of the island saw an opportunity to revolt.
Neutral until this point, Toussaint saw an opportunity for leadership. So he sacrificed his own safety and left his family in order to aid the slaves in their first revolt in 1791. He used his ability to lead and military tactics to transform an untrained amateur army of slave rebels into a military force to be reckoned with. Essentially, Toussaint's gift for leadership gave the slaves an end goal and a true reason to call for their own independence movement.
Once the war began, Toussaint's aptitude for strategy, military, diplomacy, and politics enabled him to successfully expel the Spanish, British, and French from Saint-Domingue. Through the process, he worked his way from a medical officer to the general of the slave army to the general of the French army, and eventually the sole leader of Saint-Domingue. He conquered his enemies through the use of guerrilla warfare.
He switched allegiances often, going from the Spanish to the French to against the French again.
There was always strategy behind his shifts in allegiance, though.
For example, he sided with newly democratic France in May of 1794 because he knew they could provide the military support needed for Toussaint to take control of Saint-Domingue. He was a military genius and always had a clear purpose.
After the War of Knives in 1799, Toussaint was able to take complete control of Saint-Domingue. He created a constitution that made him the sole authority of the island and abolished slavery, making it the first constitution ever to prevent discrimination based on race. However, Napoleon Bonaparte, the new dictator of France, resented the fact that Toussaint's constitution did not have his approval.
Napoleon reinstated slavery in France, and war recommenced between Saint-Domingue and France. Toussaint was defeated in Leclerc's invasion of 1802. He was tricked and arrested by the French government and died in a French prison before Saint-Domingue gained its independence in 1804. He was never able to establish a stable and independent nation.
Saint-Domingue, now named Haiti, never was able to recreate a stable economy or political structure because it had lost so much in the war. Had Toussaint still been alive, we think that he would have used his determination and clear planning to successfully build a prosperous nation.
When it comes down to it, it is undeniable that Toussaint Louverture was a genius. He was someone who understood the value of humanity because he had been on the receiving end of slavery.
He had played many different roles in society, which is what allowed him to see possibilities where others did not. His determination, ambition, and dedication to liberty allowed him to become a leader of the only truly successful slave revolt in history.
When you think about where you want to root your fight for liberty, choose to plant your trust in a leader with wits,
purpose,
and the determination to see his visions through.
Choose Toussaint Louverture.
Choose Toussaint Louverture.
Choose Toussaint Louverture.
Choose Toussaint Louverture, the man who will nurture the tree of liberty and equality.